Welcome to another insightful and uplifting episode of the No Limits Life podcast, where we explore how to cultivate harmony across the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual dimensions of life. Today's episode is about vision, evolution, and staying true to yourself in a world that often values noise over depth. Presence and passion are the true currency of impact, far more valuable than status or noise. Our guest today is someone who truly embodies that quote. With a career that spans CBS Radio, the Walt Disney Company, and iHeartMedia. He is a media pioneer, a storyteller, and a devoted family man who has navigated high-pressure environments while staying grounded in his values. His story is one of bold moves, creative leadership, and unwavering presence. Please welcome Steve Earnhart. You are an amazing person, both energetically and as a person. We're thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let's start by reflecting on this quote. Presence and passion are the true currency of impact, far more valuable than status or noise. How does this apply to you in your life? How do you navigate your life with such a statement?
Well, I think the noise part is what hits me about that quote the most. I mean, I think so much of what we do in our society today is for the appeasement of others. It's not for us. Mm-hmm. Post it on the gram, put it on Facebook, got to do a TikTok video. People they've turned to a lifestyle where everything is for others' edification and not their own, right? Mm-hmm. Like, look at me in this video and I want you to perceive that I'm living this lifestyle, right? Like, I got off Facebook a decade ago because it was just all, it's kind of the same thing with LinkedIn. It's all humble brags, honored to be named just all that stuff, right? You're humbled to be. If you're humble, you wouldn't be posting on social media, right?
Humility is not
absolutely
material,
right. Like, you're a two-time Mr. Universe. I've never heard you tell me that.
And that's because this is what you mentioned earlier about being. It's when you're being humble, that means you're not out there trying to show off and get gratification from others. Yes, absolutely.
One time I went to Lake Powell. I've been to Lake Powell probably 12, 15 times in my life. That's the largest man-made lake in North America. Mm-hmm. It's on the Utah-Arizona border.
I've never been there.
Oh, you've never been? Sure. It's fantastic. Get a houseboat, spend a week, and just completely unplug. No cell service. Went there one year when I was in my mid-20s with a kid that was a friend of my brother's who lived in New York at the time. This kid was from Hoboken, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And we're starting off, and this kid they played in the stairwells, right? Like, he wouldn't even let outside. He'd never left the city. It was like Planet of the Apes to him. He'd never seen such a place in his life, right? So we're all getting on the houseboat. We're putting everything away. Mm-hmm. And Craig was the kid's name, and I start to take something up to the roof because roof is very much accessible on a houseboat. I get up there, and on the roof, we have a boom box because I'm that old, and he's playing U2's Streets of No Name. Now, if you know the beginning of that song where it's beautiful instrumentals, mm-hmm. He's in the front of the houseboat with his hands straight up in the air. He's alone. He's not doing this for your edification. He's not doing it for a picture. He's not doing it for Instagram. Mm-hmm. The man is having a moment in his life that I got to be nose high on the deck from walking up the back stairs, seeing him experience this. The rarity of that moment, because so much of that is like, catch me in another picture. Like, I see so many people I follow on Instagram. I'm an old man. I don't follow a ton of people. But the folks that I follow, it's all about selfies and me. They're just me monsters, right? They can't get enough of me.
But you've been in this business longer than I can think of, right? Yeah. And you see that evolution from really being able to focus on activities and really be out there for the sake of being out there. Now, as you mentioned, they're there, but they're not there. So their body is here, mm-hmm. but their mind is somewhere else, trying to get a moment of happiness, when happiness really is not about that. Happiness is about a state of being. So looking out there to seek happiness doesn't exist. Happiness, you won't find happiness
externally.
So when you mention looking for gratification from others, what are they truly looking for? And what do you think is happening in their head and their heart when they do this, when they showcase someone that's not them, when they showcase an illusion? How can you describe that And what
I think it's a lust for validation.
Okay.
Right. I think a lot
lust
of it
for
is
validation.
Yeah,
It's a
I think
drug.
it is right. I need you to. I mean, we raise kids that way, right? In schools, they get an A. Please judge me. Like we have that way in our society, right? I think it's unfair for these kids nowadays, though, because they're on Snapchat and it's got a filter of a human being that doesn't exist, right? And so you have all of these people now leaning into weight loss drugs, leaning into plastic surgery, leaning into some of those things that are trying to look like something that is precisely unattainable. I mean, you were a two-time Mr. Universe, and a lot of that is about symmetry, right? You can't have fantastic quads, but you got
Absolutely
no calves.
not.
Sorry. Symmetry is still a big deal, right? But if I was going to let you pick up a pen or a Picasso pick up a pen and draw the perfect male body, it wasn't you. It doesn't exist because we would draw the calves too big or the quads too big, where genetically your chest can't get that defined, whatever it may be. And that's what this next generation coming up I feel bad for them because I think we were all formative in those years, and we look back at this generation, they're like, we were the same. We were exactly the same. We just didn't have these headwinds, this technology that is unfair to them, right? There's no one who's going to look like that because it's not a person.
Don't you think it's a cry for help, though? And trying to identify with other things? And
I mean, we've had Keeping Up with the Joneses for 100 years, right? And I think that at some point, you can always find someone taller or someone thinner, someone richer, someone prettier, like all of those things. And so I think it's a specific cry for help potentially. I saw a Wall Street Journal article that said that during the pandemic, in a 6-month window, there were over 665 million searches for bipolar disorder.
Yeah, I believe that.
Right? Even though the American Medical Journal assumes there's roughly 1.3% of the population as a whole that has a bipolar, you had 665 million searches for it during the pandemic. And I think a lot of it was because kids, not only were they isolated, they were desperate to be different. It's the reason people trying to separate from the herd. I get a face tattoo. I get all of us want to have a little bit of a difference. We want to matter, and I'm not like you. She began cutting herself. Beautiful girl. 14 years old, multi-millionaire family, lives on the beach in California, like no headwinds whatsoever, like literally the land of utopia. But it makes me think of a couple scientific studies that have been done. They put mice and rats in utopia environments where they don't have predators, they don't have purpose, they don't have everything's there, all the water you want, perfect weather, all the food you want, all of it. Within 60 days, they begin to turn on each other. The females begin to get extremely aggressive. The men get as tepid as can be, and it falls apart because there's no purpose to their life, right? They have no purpose, they have no drive, they have no headwinds, so they begin to create their own headwinds, right? And I think so often in this world, we are a softer generation every generation by design. You don't get up and turn the channel on your TV, you grab this thing and you didn't storm the beaches at Normandy. I mean, all of that was done so that we don't have to in this generation, right? So I think that a lot of people are seeking externally to find that peace because they don't have a purpose.
I think, also part of it is a seeking connection or craving connection. In addiction, more often than not, people are seeking connection, and using whatever they're using because they're connected to this or that gives them a sense of connection. And so during the pandemic, it was either you stayed there and you discovered things that you loved about your partner or your kids that you never knew about, or you discovered that the person you lived with wasn't supposed to be the one that you wanted. But you didn't get a chance to see that because you were never there. So now we have a chance to be locked and face reality, and I think that in itself, when kids and adults started sending these messages and to each other, forming, bond with others, we saw that, trying to seek for connection. And I think now we're switching from this huge urge of wanting gratification to wanting connection and building communities now.
And you're seeing that in the youth too. Like my son's 17 and he was so excited to get a record player for Christmas. Because I think that, do you know what the number one selling rock album was last year? Number one selling, downloaded, whatever, rock album. No, it's Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
Fleetwood Mac Dreams is the number one, and that's from the early 80s, right?
Yeah, it's been around for a while.
But it's been around a while, but the kids are seeking authenticity. With the amount of AI, the amount of filters, the amount of they're sick of the saccharine, right? And so I think a lot of them are leaning into record players. My son was like, wait, you can play this backwards?
So he's vinyl?
Oh, yeah, bud.
That's vinyl.
Yeah, right? He was
Nice.
so stoked to have, stuff that we all turned our noses up because a cassette came out.
Right.
I was having this conversation with both my kids, Isabella and my son Armand, and they both have different personality.
Mm-hmm.
One is more resilient than the other, and I'm not going to say it in the show because I'm going to get killed if I do.
Absolutely. Smart dad.
But one doesn't spend so much time on the device.
Mm-hmm.
The other is like glued to it. Ironically, the one that is glued to it suffers from anxiety a lot more and panic attacks a lot more than the one that is not on the phone. And the other day, she made an attempt to ask me to show her how much time I was spending on my phone, and I was horrified.
Did she bust you?
I was horrified because then I started looking. I said, "How much time am I spending?" And I looked at my phone, and I'd only use it for business reason. Guess how much I'm spending a day? 5 hours on my phone.
Wow.
That's on the low end.
That's a full-time job.
That's a
right
low
there.
end, though.
That's
Like,
low end, yeah.
But that's
And-
work, right?
And so some people spend upward of 12 hours a day. So what I'm saying, with AI, warp speed of evolution, I am just terrified by it, and I'm frankly, I don't know where we're going with this, because if technology is good, which I think is good, to enhance you, fine. But if it's there to destroy you, because I think that's why they created AI, is to enhance us, to make us save time. But for some, it's destroying their lives.
Well,
So-
technology can be good and bad. It
Yeah,
just depends on how you use it.
I always say, I compare it to the digital and analog world of photography. When it was analog, and photographers who didn't want to jump on technology gave up, lost their business, and the ones who jumped and used technology made it.
Yeah.
Same with here. You got to know how to navigate it.
You know what is encouraging to me is what Steve said about Fleetwood Mac. Because if kids, everything happens, I believe, in cycles. Okay? So it seems to me that if that's a trend and Fleetwood Mac is the number one most downloaded, is that what you said?
Purchase, download, whatever.
Or they're spinning vinyl now, right? It's possible that they want that authenticity. So they're not going to, it's not going to get just worse and worse and worse. I think they're starting to realize, wait a second, time out. I need to go back to reality.
Yeah, and
that's a good sign
that's
to
not
me.
what I meant. But think about it. Really, we all grew up in an environment where we got to play. We got to go out there.
Sunshine, get
Yes,
vitamin D.
play. But think our
stay healthy.
kids, they don't see that.
Well, I think they're starting to. Like, we were the first generation that ever had technology like a phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was a bad thing to give a 6-year-old a smartphone. I thought I was being a good dad. I couldn't ask my parents, hey, what did you do when it wasn't a thing? Now they do. I have a lot of friends who are now new parents and stuff like that. They would never dream of giving their child a phone until they're 15, whatever the number is you pick, but it wouldn't be 6 and it wouldn't be 8, right? I think that's the evolution that that's a bad thing now because of that. Like, this is not good for everyone to have. This is not a good pacifier,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, I mean, I'll give you another hot take, though. Speaking of Fleetwood Mac, I don't think that music has evolved since 1984. We have not come up with a new sound since 1984.
Yeah, that's
Hip-hop,
very true.
Rock, like every single thing we listen to now is so homogenized, right? So cookie cutter that I think the kids see it. They're sick of everything is just Taylor Swift-esque or the rap, half the crap, I can't even understand it, right? It was unbelievably clear with Eazy-E and NWA and Biggie
And I love country, and that's got all poppy now.
Sure, it's gotten
It's
very
different.
popular, but it's formulaic now, and that's not authentic. You listen to any of the stuff from the great singer-songwriters from the 70s and 80s and even the 60s, and you're like, how did this guy ever make it? You sound weird. You're ugly as bricks.
Look at Bob Dylan. I can't even understand. I can't understand what he's saying.
Right? And it's a terrible voice.
Yeah.
He would have never been a thing in today's society,
No,
right? 'Cause
never.
he doesn't have all of it, right? A boy band. Like,
Right.
That started ruining it all. But
Yeah.
I think the kids see that. They see that it's saccharine and that it's formulaic, and they go back and you played something from Rush. And they're like, holy, their head explodes because they create a music, right? They created an actual sound that wasn't done before. I mean, rap's been around since the 70s, right? Techno's been around since the 70s. Think about it this way. That song came out in the 80s, so it is 40 years old plus.
Yeah.
When we were in the 80s, would you have ever thought of listening to a song from 1942?
No.
Not a chance.
No way.
Not a chance. They roll around
band
with
music,
Nirvana
baby.
shirts,
Yeah,
right?
right.
With Biggie
That's true,
Smalls
yeah.
and Tupac and everything. I'm like, we didn't throw back to the 60s or the
No.
like that wasn't a thing, right? And now they all go back 40 and 50 years, 50 years
Yeah.
to the 70s for that music and that connection. We
would have been back in the 30s.
Thank you, right? Like, well, you'd have never tolerated it, right? I
Not in a
remember
million
when,
years.
50s were oldies back when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what a terrible sound that is,
Yeah.
right? That didn't last in the 80s.
was Al
That didn't
Jolson.
survive the 90s, right? But just the same, that's where I'm like, I'm so excited to see what this generation comes up with and finally create some new music,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm like, you don't have any new instruments. We had the synthesizers and all this stuff that came out in the 80s that you had OMD and all those guys at the time creating brand new sounds, Yaz and stuff like that. Doesn't exist now, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I look at that stuff, and again, it goes back to connection. Kids want that connection. Oh, you're a human being. Christopher Cross may be one. I mean, he looks like a damn librarian. But when you listen to his music, it's super connected, but he'd
Yeah.
never make that today.
Yep. So I've got a couple, like an observation, a couple questions. So one thing I've observed about you is you kind of march to the beat of your own drum. Okay. And what I mean by that is I remember seeing you on social media because somebody videoed you.
Wasn't me.
And they posted it. No, it wasn't you, but somebody, because it was of you. And out of the blue, I never would have had the guts to do this. Okay. And this is when you're in Tucson, you're already running radio stations, and you're out singing the national anthem at a rodeo. It's like, what the heck? I mean, am I going to have to do that to compete? Because we were competitors.
Sure, at the
And I'm
time,
thinking,
yeah.
I got to go do something like that to compete against this guy? I'm not going to go sing the national anthem in
I
front.
tried to come
I
work
can't even
for him.
remember the words, you know. And I love the song, but I would never remember the words. So anyway, I've always admired that about you. And
Thanks, man.
And you're just, you know, you don't fall in line with everybody else. I mean, it's just you're Steve. You
Yeah.
do your own thing, and that's what I think is so cool.
Thanks,
But I do, you know, a couple quick question. Like, one of the things too that I noticed about you is your storytelling ability, because you already told a story right at the beginning. And so, how does that all come about? Like, how do you? Is that just you, or did you learn to do that?
Oh, I don't think I learned. Like, my degree in college was in theater. And it was because my parents were teachers, and I knew damn good and well I was not going to deal with terrible children and terrible parents for that kind of pay. And my brother was in civil engineering in college. So I didn't know a business degree existed. I didn't know that I could go to business school. I didn't know that I could go to communications. Like, the only thing thought I could do was be in theater, right? And I learned nothing in theater, to be completely fair. Nothing in theater, right? But it was how I could get my degree. My ACT points, my score, was 3 below the minimum for the University of Colorado. 3 below the minimum.
So how'd you
when
get
I got
out?
in, my dad had his doctorates from there. My mom had her master's from there. And my brother was currently attending.
Oh, no.
So I think they were like, he can't be that stupid, right? So that's the only reason I think I made it into college, right? Because my ACT, I always introduce myself as the dumbest guy in the room. And I'm completely at home with that. I'm fine being the
Did you
dumbest guy in the
study
room.
theater in college too?
Yeah, that was my degree in college was in theater,
Oh, okay.
right? Because I didn't know anything else existed. When I talk to kids nowadays, I'm like, oh, I got a business degree in minor, and I was like, that's a thing? I just didn't know.
Right.
You know, like when I talk to the kids at the University of Arizona, the graduating students at Eller, I tell them all the same thing. I'm like, when I was your age, I was graduating with a theater degree. I was a bartender for 5 years after college. You kids are light years ahead of where I was, right? Like, so much of my success in my life is nothing but sheer stupid luck. It's not on any other reason than just, dude, you got lucky.
So
And
how
I'm
did
totally
you?
fine
So
admitting that.
you're a theater major. How do you get into broadcasting then?
I was in LA doing the acting thing, which is code for I was a bartender, right?
Did you make money as an actor?
I made some money, but it's not consistent money, right? And I got out of the business the day I realized I had 10 associates, like friends, associates, that could act me into the ground. I mean, they were fantastically talented. 2 of them were homeless.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
It is not a business where your skill set means you'll end up with a pile of money. If you're great at sales, you're going to end up with a pile of money. Like, if you're a great actor, who cares? Like, that's
Right.
the best thing that I had loved seeing as a former actor, seeing Apple TV and Netflix and all of those. You now have more options. When I
outlets.
was there, you had 4 TV stations and 2 movie
Yeah.
houses. God help you, right?
Yeah, I
Because
just
they
think
run
it's getting
everything.
better for
I don't need
actors.
another show of Tom Hanks. Thank you very much.
shows. Yeah.
Denzel Washington, very talented. Don't need a 37 movie with it. Like, can we get some new talent? And you get to see crazy great talent on Apple TV now
Yeah.
and Netflix and HBO Max, and because there's just more content, right?
Right.
That's why I feel bad for
More
TV
outlets.
stations. They can't compete with that.
Yeah.
They have to play by FCC rules, right? A TV's like The Masked Singer. Are you kidding
Right,
me?
right.
Who's going to watch this stupid crap? Compared to Severance on Apple TV, or Ted Lasso, like all these other Ted Lasso, all these other things you can with the crazy talent. They have to play no rules. Your head's going to pop off. You're going to be nude, and you're going to say the F-bomb 6 times. Totally fine, right? Because it's just streaming. You'd never do the FCC,
Right, no.
So yeah,
You're
I like
a
seeing
lot of
that
limitations.
nowadays.
Yeah, I do
So-
too. I agree.
Yeah. So to answer your question in the wrong
refreshing.
way, I have no idea how I tell stories. I think I operate from a very basic principle. You're no cooler than me. I'm no cooler than you.
But broadcasting, what was your first gig then? How'd
Oh,
you
I
get
was
in?
I was in roofing sales, and I went on a guy's roof and a very nice house in the Palisades. And I said, "Dude, nice house." He goes, "Thanks." I go, "Can I ask you what you do?" I work at the rep firm. I didn't know what a rep firm was, right? Like, I'm the dummy who thought
So
that
can you
radio
tell
existed just
our
to be
viewers
nice.
what a rep firm is?
A
What
rep
is it?
firm is that we were a boutique firm. We had 355 stations across the country that when a national piece of business would come down, I would call all the national sales managers back in the day with fax machines and whatnot and say, "What are your rates? Here's a piece of business. Can you give me rates for 60s?" That was only 60s. We had no 30s and 15s. I need a 60-second spot rate for these dates on these stations. Thank you very much. Click, click, call the next guy, right? So I represented these stations. So it's a rep firm, right? So we had, several others. They still exist to this day. And
So
do
you
the
got
same
into
thing.
this because of the roofing job you did?
I stood on the roof of this dude, Sean McCormick, and I said, "What do you do?" He told me. I was like, "Any chance you guys are hiring?" And he said, "Well, we only have 5 sales reps, but one of them just knocked up his girlfriend and is moving to Phoenix." Side note, that's my best friend to this day. Works for Google. Yeah, that guy knocked his girlfriend up. Here they are, married 28 years later, 4 kids, perfect life, like life is good. But he's like, "We're hiring for that job. If you want to come in, long shot for you selling roofing, but sure, kid, if you want to come in." Took the suit, the double-breasted suit my dad bought me in college,
Nice.
right? With a
Bell
tie from
bottoms.
the Gap that was $3. I had a lifted Ford pickup truck. So my first sales job was convincing the 400-pound parking attendant to let me double park my truck on Wilshire and San Vicente when I went inside to go interview. I went inside,
Wow.
tap danced for 3 hours. He came in after I met everybody and did, you know what I mean? And he's like, "You can turn it off now. You got the job."
Nice.
And that was the rest of history. But don't
And
tell
here
me
you
this
are.
it's just luck.
Yeah.
Just sheer luck.
Stumbled upon your luck. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. In a rapidly changing media landscape, how have you stayed grounded and aligned with your deeper purpose while remaining forward-thinking?
Kind of what we talked about with tech, right? Like it's the sexiest girl in the room is digital, right? Every agency and every advertiser is like, "I need to get on the digitals," right? But the masses are still doing the blocking and tackling, buying records, listening to songs from the 80s, listening to radio. Like, radio has the 3 things. I call radio the cockroach of all media because you can't kill it.
That's so
right?
true.
If TV was going to kill it, satellite was going to kill it, the internet was going to kill it. What it is ubiquitous. It's in every car. It's free, right? But it's local. No one cares about Tucson like Tucson. No one cares about Philadelphia like Philadelphia, right? And so when you want to do lean-in listening and connected, nothing does it like radio. Right? And the masses, you got half the cars on the road, more than that. I mean, I think I just read an article that said that the average American is driving a car at 13 and a half years old.
Wow.
That's the average American.
I
How
wouldn't
many
have thought
cars
that.
from 13 and a half years old can stream, they just don't. So
Nope.
they get in. My wife is a perfect example, born and raised in Tucson. Every morning she walks in the kitchen, is like, "Hey, Alexa, play 93.7 KRQ. And I'm like, "Are you serious?" I have John Jay's a coworker, man. Can I get just some time without? No, she needs her War of the Roses. She has to, because that's what she knows, right? She wants the friend in the car next to her. And I think for me, when I see that behavior from people not in media, right, that are still like, "I love my John Jay and Rich, I love my Frank Show, I love whatever it may be, Bobby Bones, etc." That's what resonates with them because it's authentic connection.
Yeah, it resonates deeply, and
Yeah.
it's a part of their routine, daily habits,
Yeah.
and that's embedded into it. So, Steve, your story is a powerful reminder that authentic impact comes not from noise, but from presence, purpose, and heartfelt connection. You're an embodiment of that.
Thank you.
And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, brother.
Changing lives. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so much.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. If today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to pause, reflect, and share it with someone who needs a dose of inspiration and grounding. Until next time, keep building awareness, and creating your no limits life.